M. Fletcher Brown with another artist video blog at kicks96country.com. Our guest today, returning champion. It's been a minute since he was here last. Falling 2 was the single that he last joined us to talk about. But please welcome back to Kicks Country, Jet Jurgensmeyer. How are you, Jet?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back here. It has been too long.
Yeah, it has. Well, I mean, I say too long, but after post-pandemic, everything feels like it's been
Honestly,
too long.
yes, time flies.
But you have actually evolved, quite a bit since the last time we saw you. You are now full into your college career.
I am. We're finishing up our second semester. I got finals next week.
Really?
Not fun at all.
Oh, it's not like you don't know what that's. I mean, you came out of high school. Is college
true.
really different from high school for you?
Well, to a certain extent, because I was homeschooled my whole life.
Oh, that's right.
Kindergarten through high school,
Yeah,
I was
that's right.
homeschooled. I mean, obviously, I still understand tests and things like
Uh-huh.
that. But now it's the freedom. I'm living on campus. I'm in charge of my own destiny. I'm in charge of how much I study. I don't have somebody like my parents, they're knocking on my door saying, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you got this assignment due tonight. You got a test due tonight. Like, as soon as I'm done with all the stuff we're doing today, as far as traveling around doing interviews and this sort of thing, I'm going to be studying tonight because I got stuff due tomorrow.
So the real test for you is just, coping with adulthood.
Yes,
That's
time
the
management. It's a
education.
weird thing being an adult and time management. Like, I got to worry about like voting and things like that now.
Time management. What's that?
What is that?
I don't know what that is.
I don't have my mom there saying, "Hey, this is what you're wearing today." I got to actually do my own laundry, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, college sucks. I'm kidding. All right. But now, if you remember, Jet is not only a musician and songwriter, but he's also an actor. You've actually been nominated for awards. You've been on some really, really high profile TV shows and movies.
Thank you.
I think you've been on an episode of CSI. You've been on a bunch of Disney stuff.
Yes, sir.
Like now, I'm 51. I'm way too old for Disney. But I don't know any of the shows.
Absolutely.
What Disney shows have you been on?
Oh my goodness, various things. One that was really popular when I was younger was Austin and Allie and Jesse. They were two different shows. I was in an episode of that when they actually combined over New Year's. That was a really fun time. I've done a bunch of voiceover work for Disney. Anything from like their show Tots. I was Pip the Penguin. I was the lead on that. I did a movie for them in 2015. Came out in 2016 called Adventures in Babysitting. And outside of Disney, like Last Man Standing on Fox with Tim Allen, Nancy Travis. I was on that. I was in an episode of Ozark on Netflix.
Gosh,
I
love that show.
I played young Marty Bird in season 3 of
was that you?
That was me.
Oh my gosh.
That was me. That's crazy. I love that reaction.
I loved Ozark. That was such a great show.
It's a good show. It's funny when I got the audition, my parents binge watched it. So I was young. I was too young to like watch Ozark. You don't want a kid watching
I was
that.
too young to watch Ozark.
So my parents binge watched it to like do research for me, and they picked out scenes that I could watch because there's no full episode a 13 or 14-year-old can watch
what
that
scene
show.
could you watch? Like
I
Marty
don't know.
driving somewhere?
Literally. And then I think when I was 18, I decided to try to watch it. I got through like 2 episodes, and it made me be like, I have a strong stomach, and I was like, man, some of this stuff is like, all right. So I couldn't even get through it all, but my parents got hooked, and they watched it, and then when we filmed my episode, obviously that season wasn't out, and they didn't know what. They're like, what in the world is going on? Because we're just living in our bubble, so we don't know what the rest of the episode's about. We just have the script. We're like, why is Marty here? What is happening here? What is happening? So they're freaking out, and then, the show wraps up, and they're like, well, that was crazy. And I'm like, I still don't even understand what my episode was a part of the story. I'm like, Marty's down in Mexico. Somehow I'm a child talking about how with his dad in the hospital. I don't know where that ties into the story.
Oh yeah,
But here we are.
That show went off the rails. I loved it.
Exactly.
So this is the thing about you, Jet. You were just kind of born to entertain one way or another. You're going to act. You're going to songwrite. Your mom is a musician, correct?
Yes.
And
yes,
your dad works in music, but he's not necessarily a musician.
He's not a music. My dad is the greatest guitar tech you could ever want.
Yeah.
I mean, they have an instrument company. You actually have one of their instruments hanging up on the wall right there, a Copley guitar.
Oh, Copley.
So my dad can work on anything from drums, trumpets, flutes, guitars, violins, mandolins, you name it. He can fix it.
Yeah.
So having him as my driver and traveling with me, if something breaks on the guitar, he can fix it. I do string my own guitar, but other than that, I'm not a guitar nerd, but he is. And then my mother is a songwriter. She had a publishing deal in Nashville. She was a songwriter. She went to school at Belmont, where I go. So I was born into an entertainment family, and I'm sure I said this last time I was here, but I always say when you're from Nashville, you're going to be involved in entertainment in some way, shape, or form.
Probably, yeah.
Whether it's in front of the camera, behind the mic, out in the crowd, being the front of house guy. And I just happen to be the one that's, in front of the crowd. But I love all aspects of it. And I'm a nerd when it comes to that sort of stuff, the live stuff in front of people entertaining. I'm a nerd on that sort of thing.
Well, let's talk about the new single. Like I said,
Yes,
the last one was Falling To, and now it's Good Days.
Yes, sir.
Now, is this a Jet Jurgensmeyer written original?
This is.
Okay.
This is. So from my last album out, my goal is going to be to write all of my stuff.
Okay.
And this song, don't let the title fool you. It is not a happy song per se. Okay. It's actually about getting lost in the good days of a bad relationship. Yes.
Yeah, we've all been there.
So it was my first time writing with my co-writer Drew Rizzuto. We'd never written together. It got set up by a friend of ours, and about 15 minutes before he showed up to my house, I went, "Oh, I don't have any ideas to bring to this, right? That's probably not a good look." So I sat with my guitar literally right before he showed up, and I hit record on my phone. I came up with a little melody and a guitar part for the song. He sat down, I played him the melody. He's like, "Oh, that's cool. Let's just run with it, see what happens. I don't have anything either." And I was like, "Oh, thank God he didn't have any ideas. It's not that embarrassing." And I sang the first verse, kind of the first thing that came to mind. "Why you never want to run away, run away?" And he goes, "That was kind of neat," and wrote it down on a Google Doc. And we wrote the song, lived with it for a bit. I didn't think it was ever going to be a song for me. I was just like, "Oh, this is a cool song. We can pitch it to people." We actually were planning on demoing it and pitching it to people. And I played it one time randomly with some friends at the house, and my parents were like, "Man, that's a cool song. Maybe we should record that. We need one more song for a studio session we had coming up to record this next album." And we went in, recorded it, and the more I lived with it, the more I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And it was actually, Good Days wasn't going to be a single. I mean, this song had every opportunity to not be on the album, be one of my songs, or be my next single. And the more my team and I lived with it, the more we had it down to these two songs, and Good Days won, and it's now getting played on the radio all over, and I get to travel around and talk about it.
It's just could end up being like, your breakout hit.
Thank you. It has been my fastest growing single that I've ever had. So that's been surprising, coming from, not wanting to record this song, not thinking it was right for me, even though it was about an experience that I had, to then being the fastest growing single I've ever put out. It's pretty surreal.
Yeah, that's kind of huge.
And it also, it shows that nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
I will agree with that.
In this industry, in this world, and I'm just letting God create my path as it goes, one day at a time. And
that's really the only thing you can do.
Absolutely. The second you try to micromanage your life is when everything goes wrong.
All right, so Jet Jurgensmeyer's got a brand new single, Good Days. Don't look for a happy tune, because it's not. It's one of those ironically titled songs.
There you go.
If folks are listening to this and they're thinking, "I've got to go and hear everything Jet Jurgensmeyer," I'm gonna get your name right.
It's a tough one. I messed it up actually.
It's so very Scandinavian.
That's so funny because it's so German. It's got so many letters, and it's real. I always tell people JET, like a plane, fun way to remember it. And if you type a J for Jurgensmeyer, I'll pop up. There's not a bunch of Jet Jurgensmeyers out there. It's not like John Smith.
Yeah.
So
I don't believe I've ever met a Jet Jurgensmeyer before.
There you go. And if there is another one, I don't know if we're supposed to fist fight for rights to the name, or
there can be only one.
We're gonna do something for it, because there's only one.
If folks are looking for this Jet Jurgensmeyer, where do they find you on the internet?
Everywhere, just under my name, Jet Jurgensmeyer. Jet with one T and then a J for Jurgensmeyer. I'm verified on all the social media things, and my website's just my name as well.
All right. Look for him on TV and in films, because he's all over the place. And look for him on a radio near you. Hopefully, if you want to hear Good Days, you call us here at Kicks 96. We'll happily play it for you. Look for a live performance from Jet elsewhere here on our YouTube channel. Jet, thanks for visiting us again.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And good luck in college and
thank you.
Growing into adulthood. It's not easy, but
scary.
We eventually make it to this.
There you go.
We'll see you next time on another artist video blog at Kicks96country.com.